I'd like to call the July 16th Town Council meeting to order. Let's please stand to salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening. First order of business is to approve the minutes. So April 26, 2018, it was a work session. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
4-0, motion passes. April 30th, 2018, a work session. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 4-0, motion passes. May 2nd, 2018, work session meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Jill? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
4-0, motion passes. May 7th, 2018, the regular meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 4-0,
I
motion
can't,
passes.
I can't vote. I wasn't here.
Oh, 3 with 1 abstention. Okay, moving on to open forum. Richard? Please, when you come up to the mic, if you could state your name and address, you'll have your 3 minutes.
Hi, Richard Vangermish, 55 Osceola.
Richard, is that on?
I don't know. Is it on?
Maybe just tip it a little bit. There you go. Thank you.
Shouldn't tip in public. Frankly, I think of the line from the musical Cabaret, my head spinneth. I'll give it in English. My head spins as I read about the latest library, and I'm a fan of Polka Wild Card, of involving the liquor store into the bond issue. Wow. This adds, and I'm guessing here, about 3,000 square feet to the library. Its second floor, and it has a second floor apparently, may call for an elevator for public access. How much library space do we really need? And more importantly, where is our library building projects committee, which was appointed, I think, last year? Has it met? Does it even still exist? Does it have a role in this, what I regard as a huge mistake, letting the library board make all the decisions? I'm concerned about this because the library project committee is the only rational hope for us taxpayers. And because this, and I give you the quote, I've got a minute left, from Cabaret. You might remember the romance between Herr Schultz and Fraulein Schmidt. And Herr Schultz, the grocer, brings a pineapple to Frau Schmidt. And she gets all excited and she said, "Oh, Herr Schultz, I must sit down. My head is spinning." And this is what my head is doing about what we're fooling around with on this library.
Thank you, Richard. Anybody else wishing to speak?
Jeff Dentler, Village of Point Judith. Exactly 365 days ago, Councilwoman Lawler submitted an agenda item, a motion to instruct the town solicitor to amend language in the disorderly conduct ordinance. It passed 5-0. This positive result was after a presentation to this council, March of last year, that an intruder walked onto our property, went to the front door, then around back to the rear entrance and attempted to gain entrance, unsuccessfully. The intruder decided to climb a tree to gain access to her house via the second floor deck, unsuccessfully. She was wearing high heels. According to the local police department and town ordinances, the intruder did nothing to cause an arrest. The town's disorderly conduct law, Chapter 46, Section 3, miscellaneous offenses, Paragraph 6, person disturbs the peace of another via offensive conduct, which conduct likely to cause anguish to another, thus an arrest. So why no arrest? Obviously, this is not enough. Therefore, a drunk element is needed. The police stated she was too drunk to know what she was doing and drove her home nearly 1 mile away. As a follow-up to the 5-0 vote to view the town's ordinance, September of last year, I sent to each council member and town manager an ordinance utilized by other communities which addresses drunk, disorderly conduct as an offense to be arrested and charged. What has been done and decided in these past 365 days to that 5-0 motion to look at the ordinance? This should not be a wait-and-see approach like the 4 unrelated decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Steely.
Stan Wojciechowski, Narragansett. I was very happy to read in the paper an issue I describe as discrimination. And actually, it's a recognition of that, I think, and it has to do with Councilman Moretti, and I want to say a thank you to him for what he said. He said here, according to the paper, one vote I do regret, however, is the elimination of non-resident beach passes. So to me, that looks like there's a discrimination between residents and non-residents, and that's a vote he regretted. And then he moved on to say, the time has come for Narragansett to move comfortably into the future and make this town what it can be for all residents, those who visit daily, weekly, and monthly throughout the year. To me, I recognize that as a discrimination that's kind of goes on in this town, and he recognized it and talked about it, and I hope you all will note that also in your future votes. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to speak at open forum? Moving on the agenda. A motion to schedule a public hearing on text and mapping revisions to the harbor management plan and ordinance. Do I have a motion to schedule that?
So moved.
I have a date of August 6th, 8 o'clock. All those in favor of that?
Aye.
Aye. 4-0, motion passes. Moving on, I'm going to move on to the consent agenda. Does any of the council have any motions they'd like to remove from the consent agenda?
No.
Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor of accepting the consent agenda?
Aye.
4-0, motion passes. We're on to new business. Number 9, a motion to accept, receive, and place on file the town manager's study of the town facilities and venues. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
And a second? All those in, oh, you're going to report out, sorry. I don't mean to rush you. Jim.
Get out of
Yeah, no. It's the summer heat. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Madam President. In February of 2018, the Town Council requested that I research and provide a report on the town facilities and venues in this town to see if they're best being utilized and to go over the financials. This normally took about a month to prepare this report, and normally that would have been given earlier, but obviously we were busy on other projects in town that were a priority. So it's the appropriate time to bring this up and go over this with you. This is a 25-page document that I will go through quickly but thoroughly, and then we can discuss at the end where the council would like to go with this in the future. First item we'll speak about is the towers. I realize that it's difficult to read, so I'll read through it on each slide so that the members of in the chambers can hear what we're talking about. So the towers, just a brief history of the towers. Towers is an integral element of the Great Pier Casino. It was designed by McKim, Mead, and White, constructed between 1883 and 1886. It's the jewel of the town. There was a great fire in 1900, resulted in the main wood shingle casino to burn, and only the granite walls of the tower remained. A new casino was designed, and the tower by 1910 was renovated. The tower had gone in a state of disrepair up until 1965, where another fire nearly destroyed it. Governor Chafee purchased the towers with the stipulation that the town of Narragansett would undertake the reconstruction cost. The title was transferred February 2nd, 1967 to the town, and the towers has undertaken extensive renovations. Going to URI in the early 80s, you could see where the towers has come a long way since then. It's to the beauty that it is today. I'll go to the organizational chart for the towers. The Narragansett Town Council has the ultimate say in all the decisions and policies that are in that regard for the towers. But there are really two areas that the towers, the Narragansett Council directs what to do with the towers. On the left graph, you'll see the town manager, me, and the towers falls under Parks and Recreation as well as Public Works. On the right, you'll see that there's a Towers Committee, which has designees that run the towers and its operations. Underneath that, you'll see a title, Towers Coordinator. And right there, the Towers Coordinator is a job that I, to be quite honest, struggled to understand where it fell when I became the town manager. It was Kate Vivian at the time. She did a wonderful job. And it's no reflection on the Towers Coordinator. It's just, it fell really under the purview of more of the Towers Committee than the town. Looking at the history of it, I was informed that it was supposed to be a direct report to the town manager, but several years back, in like 2014, it really became more of an entity to the Towers Committee rather than a direct report to the town manager. In the end, I'll give you some recommendations that I think could help streamline some of these comments that I'm making. Underneath that, you have an assistant coordinator, administrative assistant, janitorial and maintenance staff, volunteer staff, supervisory attendants, and attendants, all under the Towers organizational chart. Let's talk about the personnel at the towers. There's a full-time events coordinator that is a town employee. Currently, the acting events coordinator is Ms. Donna DeChico. She's here in the audience tonight. She was hired after the death of Kate Vivian. She was Kate's assistant. She was hired in October of 2017, given the title of acting. She works a 35-hour work week, technically. She's a town employee, and the salary is $40,000.40 with health and dental benefits, not in the town's pension plan, and she's allowed 3 days personal leave, 18 days sick leave, 2 weeks vacation per year, and would be allowed 3 weeks after completing 5 years, which is what any town employee would get. Kate Vivian was hired part-time prior to Donna in April of 2005. Worked a 35-hour work week, was a town employee. In July of 2014, went full-time with the town with a salary of $39,900. Health and dental benefits not in the town pension system, 3 days personal leave, 18 days sick leave, 2 weeks vacation per year, same as what Donna was afforded as the acting. There are 2 administrative assistants. One makes $15.37 an hour, averaging 13 hours a week, approximately $10,400 a year. and one makes $16 an hour and works 19.75 hours a week and makes $16,400. That number of 19 hours and 19.75 hours is like the magic number that any employer would have to limit his employees to if he did not so he would not be required to provide full-time health care under the Affordable Care Act. So what's needed for events? You have a supervisor, $11 to $13 an hour, a senior attendant, $10 to $12 an hour, an attendant, $10 to $12 an hour, and a building maintenance janitor for anywhere from $10 to $16 an hour. In 2005, the Public Works staff, under the direction of the Public Works Director, began performing maintenance responsibilities in lieu of part-time staff and general maintenance, such as roof, ceiling repair, painting, window repair, plumbing, winterization, and other items as needed. The cost of these services are paid through the Public Works budget, not the tower's fund. They average approximately 4 hours per week and an estimated annual cost of $11,000 per year to provide this maintenance to the towers. Let's go over the operations of the towers. The events are slated in 5-hour blocks, plus they are allowed 2 hours setup and 1 hour for cleanup. Additional time is available for a fee. The hours of use of the towers are Monday through Thursday, 9 a.m. to 10 p.m., Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and any holidays that fall on a Monday from 9 a.m. to midnight, Saturdays and Sundays in July and August, 4 p.m. to midnight. The user fees for a non-resident on a Monday through Thursday, it's $900. On a Friday and Saturday, $2,450. On a Saturday, $3,500. For a Narragansett resident, it would be $725 Monday through Thursday. Friday and Saturday, $1,950, and Saturday, $2,800. For a local nonprofit organization, Narragansett and South Kingston only, it would be $575 Monday through Thursday. Friday and Sunday, $875, not allowed on a Saturday. The event, additional fees would be in the event needed overtime in excess of 5 hours, they allowed $300 an hour, minimum of 1 hour increments. The casino courtyard reservation and use fee would be $225 per event. And the additional pre and post access would be $75 an hour if they wish to get in there before an event. Gazebo park is also an option. The rental fee is $35. Let's look at the number of events in the past 3 years, 2015, 2016, 2017. The first line is weddings. 2015, 83 weddings. 16, 102 weddings. 17, 76 weddings. Showers, 2015, 12. 2016, 3. 2017, 7. So that's showers, bar mitzvahs, memorials, and other private events. Business corporate events, 15, 3. 2016, 8. 2017, 10. Nonprofit events, fundraisers, businesses, 2015, 10, 2016, 20, 2017, 20. Town of Narragansett events, 2015, 6, 2016, 6, 2017, 8. Dance lessons, Friends of the Historic Narragansett Towers, Incorporated. 2015, 65, 2016, 66, 2017, 64. I guess a lot of people like to dance here in Narragansett. That's a pretty big number. Concerts, Friends of the Historic Narragansett Towers, Inc., 20 in 2015, 22 in 2016, 21 in 2017. Other events, Friends of the Historic Narragansett Towers, Inc., 2015, 6, 2016, 10, 2017, 15. So if you look at the bottom number, the total, 2015, there were 205 events. 2016, 237 events. 2017, 221 events. A pretty stable number. Let's look at the funding of the towers and the revenue. Funding for the towers is provided through operations and accounted for in the Towers Fund. The town of Narragansett transferred $50,000 annually for capital improvements until the year 2017, which it was included in 2017, but it was discontinued from that point on. And that was a voluntary withdrawal from the towers. The town did not go to them and ask them to cut that amount. They volunteered because it appeared from their income they were making enough to do what they had to do. So in 2015, I have all the numbers here. If anyone has specific questions on these numbers, but I'll just go right to the bottom line. So there was rental fee revenue, capital improvements, event donations, payroll, capital improvement projects, other operating expenses, total operating expenses. So I'll just go over the revenue and the operating expenses. So the revenue for 2015 was $302,627. The operating expenses were $290,609. The net revenue for 2015 was $62,993. 2016 revenue, $346,822. Operating expenses, $271,973. The net revenue was $124,849. 2017, the revenue was $311,259. The operating expenses were $308,785. The net revenue was $52,474. So to recap those numbers, 2015 revenue $62,993, 2016 $124,849, 2017 $52,474. Next, let's discuss the Kinney Bungalow. Kinney Bungalow is another beautiful spot here in Narragansett. The Kinney Bungalow was built in 1899 by Francis Kinney. Following his death, the bungalow was purchased by the Chase Ewing family. It was the site of numerous dances, parties, celebrations. Mr. Ewing was the co-founder of the American Ballet Theater and brought the troupe to Narragansett, where the bungalow served as the summer rehearsal site. In 1991, the Kinney Bungalow, along with the historic Sunset Farm, was acquired by the town of Narragansett for $2,200,000. Parks and Rec is responsible for the day-to-day operations with oversight from the Land Trust Committee on the Kinney Bungalow. There's a part-time events coordinator, hired 30 to 40 hours a week. It's a town employee, $19 an hour. The salary is split between 50-50 between the Kinney Bungalow and the North Beach Clubhouse. The total cost not to exceed $39,520 or $19,760 for each venue. This coordinator receives health benefits due to eligibility through the Affordable Care Act. Not in the pension system, receives no personal sick or vacation leave. Oversees operations including supervision of attendance, maintenance person, and assistant event coordinator. Reports directly to the Parks and Rec director. There's also one assistant event coordinator. Salary is once again split between the Kinney Bungalow and the North Beach Clubhouse, $12 an hour. Less than 20 hours a week is the average work week, approximately $12,300 per annual salary. Each event has 2 attendants that open, close, and remain at the venue for the duration. A maintenance person cleans, performs routine maintenance, and maintains landscaping of immediate area of the venue. There are also some salaries for a senior attendant, $10 to $12 an hour, attendant, $10 to $12 an hour, building maintenance janitor, $14 an hour for 10 hours a week, or $7,200 annually. Parks and Rec also does routine maintenance on the Kinney Bungalow in lieu of a part-time staff. The cost of these personnel services are paid from the Parks and Rec budget, not the Kinney Bungalow fund. And they average approximately 4 hours per week with an estimated cost out of the budget of $4,476. The events at the Kinney Bungalow, once again, are 5-hour duration is the standard time. 2 hours setup before, 1 hour cleanup after, very similar to the towers. Additional time is available for a fee. The hours of use are May through October daily, 11 a.m. to 12 a.m. midnight, and it's closed November through April. The fees vary depending on the month, and there's many different fees, and I'll just go over a sample of some. For example, in the months of June, September, and October, a non-resident could pay $650 Monday through Thursday, $1,850 on Friday and Sunday, and on Saturdays, $2,500. As with keeping any Narragansett resident would get a discount if they wish to rent that facility, saving substantially from $650 to $550, $1,850 to $1,450, or $2,500 to $1,900 for a resident. And that's a similar fee structure all the way down the list. Kinney Bungalow, the record keeping for that has been not as detailed as the towers. In 2015 and 16, events were recorded, but they were not broken down by different specific events like weddings, receptions, fundraisers, and so forth. So if you look at 2015, 16, and 17, you will see that 2015, there were 45 events, 2016, 30 events, 2017, 37 events. What's the matter?
I'm sorry, I misread something. There's no stenographer.
Okay, Ann, I thought something was wrong.
Sorry.
Okay. The Kinney Bungalow, let's go over the fee structure.
I missed that.
Oh, I'm sorry, not the fee structure, the revenue and expenses.
Moving on. We're very confused, but whatever. I don't want to bring light to it in case it's something they didn't.
Okay, 2015, there were 45 events, Kinney Bungalow, 2016, 30, 2017, 37 events. The rental fee revenue in 2015 was $99,027, 16, $73,786, and that in 2017, $96,852. The operating expenses were high, and that's why you don't see the return on investment like you do with the tower. So the expenses in 2015, so once again, $99,000 revenue, approximately $81,000 in expenses. The net revenue was $18,000. 2016, the revenue was $73,786. The expenses were $73,719. The net revenue was $67. 2017, there was revenue of $96,852, operating expense of $77,220, net revenue $16,932. Move on to the North Beach Clubhouse. North Beach Clubhouse, is, as we all know, is just a beautiful location that I think has a lot of room for growth. The North Beach Clubhouse was managed by a beach commission. It was originally known as the Connaught Club prior to 1938. It was actually a residence that had been relocated to the site to serve as a clubhouse with a $3 million 30-year bond after the '38 hurricane, which was for the beach and to build new facilities. After the '54 hurricane, new buildings were built again, and a 20-year bond was issued to cover the cost of the new construction. In 1967, management of the beach was transferred to the Parks and Rec Department from the Beach Commission. The North Beach Clubhouse was renovated several times over the years to its present condition as a premier beachfront venue. The latest major renovation was 2011 at a cost of approximately $225,000. Parks and Rec is responsible for its operations. There's a part-time events coordinator, which I already went over, that works 30 to 40 hours a week, and her salary is split between that and the Kinney Bungalow. And it's the same structure as the Kinney Bungalow as far as an assistant event coordinator, the attendants, and the Parks and Rec maintenance, with the same fee structure, same hourly rates, and the same 50-50 split in the cost. North Beach Clubhouse, its hours of operation, Saturday of Memorial Day weekend through Monday of Labor Day weekend, 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. A vendor or a caterer can arrive at 4 p.m., and the cleanup is between 11 p.m. and 12 a.m. No additional time available. The rates, Monday through Thursday, are $700 for a Narragansett resident, $1,000 for a non-resident. Friday through Sunday, $750 for a resident, non-resident, $1,100. And the fee structure also changes after Labor Day, where a resident could utilize this facility for $500, non-resident $900 on a Monday through Thursday, and a Friday through Sunday, Narragansett resident $650, non-resident $950. The North Beach Clubhouse, there's no recorded specifics on what type of events are held. We are currently in the process of doing that now. But in 2015, there were 54 events, 2016, 57 events, 2017, 79 events. You can see that's been on the rise since. Let's go over the balance sheet. The North Beach Clubhouse is part of the beach budget, so these expenses are estimated. In 2015, the revenue was $45,015. The operating expenses were $49,800. There was a loss of $4,785 in 2015. 2016, $84,585 was the rental fee revenue. The operating expenses were $53,100. There was a net revenue of $31,485. In the following year, very similar numbers. Revenue was $92,000 and change. Operating expenses $61,000. Net revenue was $31,595. So in 2015, there was a loss. 2016, approximately $31,500. 2017, same number. That was the net revenue. I thought it was fair to include the community center because it is utilized a lot by the residents. Before we even go to the next slides, I would just tell you we don't make money on this. This is part of the services that are provided to all the residents, especially our senior residents here in town. Community center was constructed in summer 1976 at a cost of $57,500. It's 2,800 square feet in size. 2001, a 34 by 54 covered pavilion was added to the backside of the community center. And the Community Senior Center Administration is presently in the process of reviewing and establishing new programs along with renovations to the interior and exterior of the structure. There's a senior citizen coordinator that was hired last June that Karen Flint, she was the assistant, and she was hired with a salary of $45,390, and she is part of a union, 1033. I think we all recognized back then that this was one of the most underutilized positions, and if the town was going to move forward with its senior senior care services, that this was an area that we needed to put a full-time coordinator on, and she was hired. I'm happy to say that it's worked out to all our expectations. We have an assistant program coordinator, a bus driver, 3 maintenance people paid various amounts. Typically, an event does not have any staff present, although Parks and Recreation maintenance staff typically do a walkthrough after an event to make sure there's no damage. Parks and Rec also does maintenance responsibilities in lieu whatever the maintenance people cannot do. Averages 4 hours a week, estimated cost of approximately $4,500. The events are given 8 hours for duration, although the hours are flexible. There's a key inside the lockbox with a code. It's pretty much on the honor system. The rental fee is very minimal. You know, the upstairs assembly room is $150 with a $200 damage deposit. The lower room, $50. Both rooms, $100. The pavilion, $40. The outside pavilion, $100. Very nominal fee because it's really providing more of a service than is a revenue generator. 2015, there were a total of 160 events. 2016, 198. 2017, a large jump, 262 events. Most are nonprofit community events where fees were waived. The community center is part of the Parks and Rec budget, and the expenses are estimated. The events are mostly fee-exempt organizations, which we spoke about. And the community center is there to serve the needs of the community by offering citizens of all ages a building to conduct meetings, lectures, classes, social events, luncheons, dinners, Boy Scout meetings, Cub Scout meetings, workout facility, stuff along that line. You see that in 2015 there's a net loss of approximately $120,000 each year for 15, 16, 17. And that's really because the rental fee revenue is very minimal, just over $3,000 to $4,000. But the payroll is, as you would expect, for a full-time employee and for all the additional employees that keep the community center open. And that's why there is a loss. So we've looked at the 3 main venues in town, the Towers, the Kinney Bungalow, and North Beach Clubhouse. And we looked at also the community center as part of doing business here in town, really. So what type of things could we stream? There's always room for improvement, no matter what department, no matter what venue, no matter what we're doing. It's in capable hands right now, and the Towers Committee actually does a good job of running the towers. So this would need further study and discussion by the council of where you would want to go with this. So I know the discussion has come up regarding one event coordinator for everything, and then assistants assigned to each venue to carry out the operations of it. So that's the first option, is to leave it alone, leave everything the way it is. The second option would be to study an events coordinator to see if it could maximize the revenue for the revenue generators, which is the North Beach Clubhouse, the Towers, and Kinney Bungalow. I would say that the North Beach Clubhouse is probably one of the biggest untapped resources we have. It's any person that has had an event there, including the reception you had for me 2 years ago, you just walk out of there and say, wow, this is just a beautiful place. Whether it's corporate luncheons or smaller events, you know, non-weddings and weddings, that would be an area that could definitely grow, I think, even though there were a substantial number of events there.
So Jim, just on that note, that the North Beach Clubhouse is used during the day by cabana holders for the parking lot. It seems like if we would ever increase use there, people are at the beach all day, and then if they have an event, there's always an issue with parking over there. That's been a struggle as we're studying those facilities. That's a problem down there.
That it always is a risk, and that's a good point, because if you go by the Cabana lot on any given day, sometimes you see a lot of spaces, or sometimes you don't see many. And in speaking with the director, Steve Wright, it's very unpredictable. You get a very nice day on a holiday or a Saturday or Sunday, you could fill that lot up very quickly. And we actually oversell those parking spots. So it could happen. But for the majority of times, the lot is pretty open and you could accommodate people. But that would be a logistical issue we would have to work out, where we would have a plan in place that if there was an overflow of people, where would we put them in the event we ran into that. The Kinney Bungalow is a struggle. There's no question. We've been struggling to rent that, maintain it. The cost is high. There's currently no air conditioning in there. I know the council is researching other areas that we could possibly utilize that building for. And once again, this is not an end-all. I hope no one here was thinking that we had all the answers to this. This is just a presentation that we're going to have to build on and study it more, what the policy of the council would be, is where they want to go with this. So if I had to rank them, the towers it's running well. The North Beach Clubhouse has definitely room for expansion.
Right.
And the Kinney Bungalow, we need to make a decision on where we're going with that. I would say this, from day one, I've always said, you don't make a change for the sake of just changing, because there's a risk involved that one of these venues, especially the towers, could suffer if
Jim, is there any way we could do an RFP to lease that out, have somebody lease the building from us?
the Kinney Bungalow.
Yeah,
Sure you could.
and that way there, we just cut loose from it, let it be somebody else's.
You could, and then that was discussed, that, there were different areas that we were looking at over the past 2 years since I've been here. Another organization from the town being represented there, where we'd waive many of the fees. That was one option. I'm
Right.
not saying it's the right option. Just
mean,
do an RFP and saying, take it.
Over the last 3 years, we averaged $12,000 a year. I mean, even if we leased it out for $2,000 a month, we'd double our, maybe go to 24 a year and be somebody else's, event center.
So that is an option. Once again, I would ask the town council to discuss.
Seems like a
this.
lot of busy work for not much return, for me.
The Land Trust has done a lot of research into how to maybe maximize that. It would take a tremendous influx of money to maybe maximize that.
Right.
We've all seen the numbers for air conditioning.
Yep.
So I just have one question on the tax status for the towers. I think they're in a different category altogether, right? 503C possibly, if I'm not mistaken. I just was curious why that's in that position versus, or why that's the only one versus Kinney versus.
Yeah, I don't have the answer for that. I can get you the answer.
Yeah, I mean, I'll find.
I know what you're saying is true. I just don't know that answer
Okay, all right.
off the bat.
Does anybody here know the answer to that?
So at some
No,
point.
he'll get that.
Oh, okay, all right, great.
Any other questions from the council on the presentation?
Not really a question, but a point, and actually Kathy Celeberto had sent an email to the town council about fees, specifically at Gazebo Park and Veterans Park. If we go forward with this, I would like that person to look at it, and if we don't go forward, we have another, I'd like for the town to really take a look at it. $35 to rent out the gazebo, that seems kind of silly. I mean, in the other point that she brought out in the email that she sent to us, and thank you for that, is that there are also other fees that the town, we have to pay our employees to go maybe reseed or whatever. I mean, there's so many great events that happen at Veterans Park and happen at the gazebo. But I think we could take a good look at it and make sure that at least we're recouping the cost the town is putting out in order to have other people have parties there or have fundraising events. But specifically, when you look at that gazebo, there are an awful lot of weddings that take place there. $35.
So I read that same email, and I forgot to bring that up. It was in my notes. So that, Ms. Celeber, I don't know if you're in the room, but that was a good suggestion that, yeah, there are a lot of weddings. There's a lot of gatherings there, and $35 is very nominal. It probably cost us that to clean up after. So that is something we could look at. You could almost triple that.
I think $35 is a low amount, but we also want to keep the friendliness of Narragansett and Gazebo Park and stuff. So I'm kind of unsure
but-
about that, but obviously we can look into
Susan,
it.
it's usually used for weddings, and I think $100 is very reasonable. I mean, who doesn't go to a wedding and have $100 in their pocket?
We certainly can look at it.
you know?
So anybody else from the council have any
100.
comments on the presentation from the manager?
Yeah, thank you, Jim, and thanks for,
86.
I think the recommendation regarding the towers is good because the towers has worked effectively. And actually, the last 2 years, the town has not even kicked in the $50,000, so that shows how effective the operation is there. If we are to change anything at the other venues, I just want to talk about, I know the Historical Society is looking for a home in Narragansett, so I think I would want to, if we reduce the number of events at some of these other places at Kinney and elsewhere, I think it's an opportunity for us to reach out to the Historical Society and try to find a place for them that they would have a home and location for their items in Narragansett.
That's a great point. I think we probably all have had the opportunity to meet with Charlie, and I agree, because it's in Wakefield right now. It should be in Narragansett, and I'd love to see it at Kinney Bungalow, but wherever it goes, it should be in the town of Narragansett. So I agree, Matt.
Well, I don't know, I was, since we're gonna invest in that library location, I was thinking of carving out maybe 1,000, 1,200 square feet for the Historical Society to, so you got one-stop shopping for Narragansett history and library, community center, elderly center,
I mean, there's some great ideas.
Dells. But just another idea.
Thanks for that. Anything else from the council on the presentation? Thanks, Jim. It's thorough, a lot of information, a lot to digest. I think we'll have it, we'll
Thank
think
you.
about it, and if there's anything or anybody needs to act any further, then we'll probably see something come up. From the public on the presentation? Mary?
Concerning Sunset Farm, why isn't it Farrell helping out, maybe doing some of the maintenance or cleaning up or whatever? Because doesn't he have rent-free there?
Repeat the question?
Why is
Farrell
it-
that has the Sunset
He
Farm?
does, he does.
But
Jeff
then
Farrell?
You're paying somebody else, to do work there.
No, he does the maintenance as well, right, Jim, around the Kinney
There's another
Bungalow?
person.
He does a ton of work, I know that.
So the Kinney Bungalow and the Sunset Farm, although they're on the same properties, are really two distinct places. So the Kinney Bungalow is self-sustaining, and we do pretty much all the maintenance on that. But the Sunset Farm, he does live rent-free, but there is an agreement that it would be farmed, there would be certain improvements made to buildings there, and so forth and so on. And that is something that we looked at his contract, and we're looking at it to make sure that, it is being, what the town council directed that farm to be, it is. So that's something we constantly look at.
Thank you, Mary.
But we are paying for the maintenance there, right, at the farm? Like a roof, or he put it on, I don't know, maybe paid for materials. Oh, we paid for materials, but not for the,
So
Labor.
I'll answer the council president. I like you, Mary, but that's my boss. But so the question is, what do we pay for? So historically, if there is improvement on the property, whether it was building the barn or whatever, the town would pay for the material. Mr. Farrell will pay for the labor. But as far as the Kinney Bungalow, we pay for labor, material, and for everything involved.
He cuts the grass and stuff around the building, right? Does the landscaping and stuff like that.
I think the Parks and Rec does it around
Yes,
Kinney
yes,
Bungalow.
They do that.
Yes,
He just does his yard.
No, no.
He does.
Mr. Farrell does the Kinney Bungalow
He
as well
does the
as
Kinney
he's-
Bungalow.
Yeah.
He does. So I stand to be corrected then.
Thank you. Richard?
There's something out of that guy.
Taking comments on the presentation, okay? Just to be clear, we're going to take comments.
Yeah, the item that has not been included is depreciation. And on all of those items, there is depreciation, and it is mandated to be done in the comprehensive accounting system. And I can understand why it's not included here. But the towers has substantial depreciation. So when you look at net revenue, if you will, it's net revenue before depreciation, and it's true also for the North Beach Club and Kinney Bungalow. depreciation is an important part of the operations, and it has to be included. Now, so when you look at the towers or the pavilion, you have to realize that those costs do not include depreciation. So it's not that much. It is less of an accounting moneymaker, if you will, than this. So you don't really want to say, well, we're making a lot of money, let's cut the fees, because we're not including depreciation here. And again, one more plea that I want, and the North Beach Club, the name is relatively recent. I'm guessing about 10 years ago. The prior Parks and Recs director changed it. I don't know if it were arbitrary or not, but I would like to go back to the Connecticut North Beach Club, because Connecticut is quite a brand name and it belongs there. And I doubt the town council ever formally changed it from the Connecticut Beach Club to the North Beach Club. It was probably an aberration of the prior Parks and Recs director.
Thank you, Richard. Anybody else?
Hi, Donna DeChico. Mr. Moretti, I just wanted to let you know that the Towers, Friends of the Towers has the 501c3. The Towers does not. So we're under the town. And
Thank you for that clarification.
And secondly, I'd just like you to know that the Towers was awarded a second prize in the People's Choice Providence Journal. Kirkbrake Country Club came in first. The Towers came in second. And third place was Quinnesset Country Club, so I think that's good for the town.
Great, congratulations.
So one last quick question. So you mentioned, and maybe you can answer this before you walk away. So I thought you could not rent the courtyard. Is that still true?
No.
You can rent the courtyard just for an event in the courtyard?
No, you can only rent the courtyard if you have rented the Towers
Oh, okay.
for a wedding.
Okay.
So there would never be a different.
Yep, okay.
Okay.
Thank you, Donna. Anybody else? Okay, thank you very much for that thorough report. No more questions from the council? All right, I'm going to go back to the public hearing just for a minute. A motion to schedule a public hearing to open a public hearing. Do I have a motion to open a public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so we don't have a steno tonight, and so I'm going to open it and then continue it. Do I have a motion for that?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
5-0, motion passes. Thank you. Sorry about that. Okay, going to number 10, a motion to approve the town manager's. Is it going to be the same date, Ann? Is it August 6th?
August 6th.
Yeah, with the harbor management plan. We'll make a motion to schedule it for the same night. But we're going to continue it to August 6th. Yeah. Okay, number 10, a motion to approve the town manager's employment contract for a 3-year term. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. So I just want to let the public know that July 9th, we had a performance review with the sitting town manager, Jim Manny, and the council spent some time reviewing his work here in Narragansett and was completely satisfied, and we reviewed the contract, and we made the following changes in his 3-year contract. In lieu of a car, we changed the language from 4,800 to 6,000 miles for the mileage. We looked at the salary, and the ranges were, it was 118, I think, with the 3% raise, and we moved it to 125 as his salary. If he's terminated, we had a 90-day termination. We moved it to 180 days, which mirrors the superintendent, so we're trying to get the contract in line with other contracts that we have on the town. It went from a 2-year to a 3-year contract. So those were the big changes. The residency clause says when practical, and we talked a little bit about that, and we were in agreement that South Kingston and Narragansett 2 miles, we felt satisfied with the practical terms of the contract. So we had complete support on this, and do you have any comments from the council?
Nothing further than what we echoed in the review.
Okay, from the public?
Good.
Anybody wishing to speak on the contract? Nobody?
Stanley,
Oh,
of
I
course,
thought it was
Stanley.
going to go smoothly. Stanley, come on up.
Missed it by that much.
No. I don't remember myself ever coming up here and actually commending you for an increase in the salary. You did increase the salary, and I think that was a very good idea. I feel very comfortable that a town manager he's been just an A++, and I just hope he stays a long time, and I hope that even the future council can utilize his financial ability, his all the abilities as he's used here, makes it a better place to come and talk and discuss and vet the issues that have to be discussed. And I think he adds to make it a better situation. Thank you.
Thank you, Stanley. Jim, did you want to say anything about your experience up to this point?
Sure. So 2 years has gone by fast. It was 2 years ago tonight when you voted on my first contract. So first thing I want to do is I want to thank the 3 sitting members who gave me this opportunity. Matt Mannix was the town council president at the time. Susan Bonanno, you were the president pro tem. And Patrick, you were the same honorary Patrick. Yeah, right now.
You returned Stanley.
No, but I truly appreciate you guys taking a chance on me. I had managerial experience, but I wasn't a town manager. And you must have saw something you like because you picked me, and I'm very thankful for that. I'd like to thank Mike and Jill for the great working relationship that I've had with you the past year and a half since you've been on the council. So I'm very appreciative for this job. I would like to tell you that one of my biggest observations is, although you don't always agree on a lot of things, this is truly democracy in action. It's truly grassroots government, like nothing I've ever seen. I worked for the federal government for 6 years, the state government for 25 years, quasi-state government for a little over a year, and this is like nothing I've ever seen. Your decisions, your policies, and your direction to me, and then the decisions I have to make, and that filters down to my great senior management team. We get stuff done, and we're moving in a really good direction right now. The town is firing on all 8 cylinders. I'd like to thank the residents, truly, because you keep me and everyone else in this town on their toes. You keep us honest, and you keep us working your tax dollars, making sure you're getting exactly what you're paying your taxes for. And it motivates me when you get up and you give either a positive comment or a negative comment. Or if you see me in the parking lot, a guy came up to me today and commented on something. It keeps me motivated, and it keeps my staff motivated, of which I have to tell you, my staff, that was one of the first things I was told when I became a town manager. The senior management team was some of the best employees I would ever work with. That's true. And the town employees was some of the best government employees I've ever worked with, and that's 100% true. I promised all of you that as a town council and the residents that I would give you a transparent, honest, open government, and I think I've delivered on that. We're not always perfect, but what you see is what you get, and we will answer any question honestly, and if we make a mistake, we'll be the first one to admit it. So what does the future hold for town Narragansett? I would say that this town council was very brave in what you did with the decision on the OPEB, funding the pension and the OPEB. It was an expense to this town. We could have looked the other way, and we could have kicked the can down the road for a few more years, but you didn't. And working with the unions, the 2 unions, Council 94 and 1033, which had great trust with the council and them, and vice versa, we overcame a major hurdle, and I cannot understate that enough. This town, in the year 2045, will be so financially stable from the extra payments that we're making now that I appreciate the council funding the pension OPEB, and appreciate the unions for allowing us to do that. We have a lot of stuff going on in this town. We have to improve our infrastructure, the roads. That's a major undertaking that we will get done. Some of the roads I've traveled on, is a couple in the Bonnet area, and I'm not exaggerating when I say this, I almost had to put my truck in four-wheel drive to get through them. One was that bad. It was, it was the frost heaves in it, and it was winter. It was pretty nasty. That is unacceptable for a town like this. We've met with DPW, and we're trying to look at other ways to include outside consultants to help us designate which roads need the most repair and to get it done quicker. It'll be more money, but it might be worth it in the long run. But we're going to research that and get back to the council on that. We have a bike path that we talked to DOT. We said we'd take that $8 million and we'll build it. Because I honestly believe the priorities in the state, they want to rebuild their bridges and roads, and the bike path was taking a second, back step, and we decided, and the senior management team, we will take on these projects as long as the state reimburses us. That's a huge step. The library is another one. The council, the voters have spoken, the council has spoken to me, and this senior management team will build a library as directed. So once again, I really appreciate this. I thank you from the bottom of my heart for giving me this contract, providing me, as long as you vote for it. Maybe I'm thanking you prematurely, but I really do appreciate it. And I promise you, every day I come to work, I'll give you 110% effort. So thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Anybody from the public wishing to speak on the contract or about the town manager at this point? Seeing no hands up in the audience, all in favor of the contract?
Aye.
5-0, motion passes. Congratulations. Keep up the good work.
Thank you.
Motion 11, motion to accept the 2 current full-time library employees hired November 2017 and April 2018 into the town of Narragansett pension plan and benefits. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
For discussion, we did have a workshop, and it was very spirited, and we talked about, where we were with the library and the full-time employments moving forward. And my sense was, and you'll speak to it at the sitting council, that the 2 full-time librarians that we would agree to be in, and then moving forward, if you look at the next motion, it would be moving forward to begin to think of creative opportunities such as the 457B. So I'd like to hear from the council on their will after we had the workshop and on this motion. Matt?
Yeah, so the future employees, I know it's the next motion, but are we going to say that there's not a pension option? Are we going to leave options open? Because I always saw the 3 people as we would come to, as a council, a decision about the 3. There's the 1 from the 2005, and then these 2 new people. But I kind of want to see what we're going to do going forward.
Oh, I was looking at the 2 that we had talked about. I don't know.
Well, no, I think you're right on, because the next motion talks about the options, right? So in terms of, I think what we talked about at the workshop was the 3, and then future options being 457B, perhaps.
So
There's a difference between perhaps, though, and saying they're going to go into the non-pension.
Yeah, so do you want to take that in one motion at a time? I'm not sure how they're separated, so,
any other
my comment on the motion 11 is I'm in favor of motion 11 wholeheartedly, and then I'm also, as I've said before, in favor of looking at alternatives, and I think the alternative, is appropriate, which is a public or a municipal 457B type retirement plan.
that's kind of what we talked about, I thought. Jill?
I know we were at the same workshop, but I came away with a different conclusion than you,
That can
Susan. I felt that there wasn't a consensus that the 2 would go into the pension plan unless Patrick's changed his mind. It seemed that Patrick put it out there that we'll take a look at the existing person, and we're not going to take a pension back, but take these 2 people and put them into a 401K opportunity.
Okay, all right, that's where I'll pipe in. after talking with Laura Kenyon extensively, she said that the additional 2 pensioners or potential pensioners would not affect our trajectory and would not have any type of effect financially in the future. So they would just, you know.
How can that be, though, if you're going to give 2 people pensions?
Well, this is Laura Kenyon, because
No,
they
I
are
understand.
contributing.
She's not
Right,
here,
She's the financial
unfortunately.
director. I mean, I'm only as good as the town staff, and we have an excellent town staff.
We do
So-
have an excellent town staff, but how can that be? You can't, you have to give, if you give people pensions, 2 of them, that's forever. Jim, were you in on the conversation?
So Laura Kenyon is out of state on vacation, a long-planned vacation. I apologize that she's not here. I did talk to Laura about this. So the way I understood this question is the 2 employees that were hired in the spring of 2018 and the fall of 2017, 1-1, those were the 2 that the question is coming up. If they're allowed in the town pension plan, how would that adversely affect, you know, what would it affect our pension liability and so forth? So my understanding is any person that's hired in this town that is entitled to a pension, it would affect liability to some extent. It would have to. That's just common sense. To what extent? Would it be something we could not absorb? Yes, we could absorb it, but it would affect it minimally. It's 2 employees out of 150 that's the way, that was the take I got from Laura Kenyon on that. They would contribute 10% into their town pension plan, as any town employee does, and the town would kick in, I think it's about the 30% mark, the additional amount that has to be contributed to the pension plan to keep it solvent. So I hope that answered your question.
So the town would be contributing 30% match.
I'm not sure if that's the exact number. I think that it's close to that number. It'd be a number similar to that. It's higher than the 10% for sure.
She said it was budgeted already, correct?
But I think we still go back to the conversation we had at the Spirited Workshop about whether or not they are employees of the town or not. And from what we hear from not only our current solicitor, but our 2 previous, is their conclusion is no.
So I think that's where, again, we talked about quasi, we have a difference of opinion if they're employees of the town. So I think that was definitely a conversation we had at the workshop.
Right.
And because they fall in under a very different category, like the school committee, we did talk about that. So again, the motion in front of us tonight is, do we want to accept those 2 into the pension plan with benefits as well?
All right. So the question is, do we accept these folks, these 2 employees in the pension system, or do we backdate and start the 457B to when they were previously hired?
Well, the other part of that as well is, I know we had asked Mrs. Kenyon to speak with our attorney to find out if we were eligible to even do that, to put an employee into a non-employee into our 401 plan.
Right.
So I don't even know
Maybe this
if
is
that's
where-
been done, and Mark can answer that
And it's
question,
where
I'm sure.
Mark can pipe in on this one.
I have not spoken with Laura at this point.
It's at our discretion, though, right? Basically, as a council,
What is?
to put them in the pension or not in the pension.
You have the right, obviously, to vote to
Right.
put them in.
Right.
And with doing that, Mark, then the town is not adding any compensation. It will not cost the town anything in order to have the library employees be put into this type of program, a 401 program?
You're talking about the 457B?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the specifics of that, Jill. I couldn't answer that off the top of my head.
Okay.
Questions from the public? Richard? Comments?
Yeah, I'm speaking for myself and not the Finance Committee. We did ask before our meeting next week, but we did want to participate in this. We got no information on it. But my answer is no, absolutely not. And I will tell you the magic word, COLA, The COLAs are killing us, and you people have refused to do anything about the COLAs, both for the retirees and the current workers. And the state courts have been quite clear. This is in the prerogative of the town council. We cannot afford any more COLAs until we adjust the retirees and the current workers to a reasonable amount, not any more than $300 a year on the COLA. We are paying COLAs like you can't believe. And while Pepsi Cola may hit the spot, in this case, no COLA hits the spot.
Thank you, Richard.
I think we need a diet cola.
Anybody else wishing to
Diet
speak?
Coke.
Stanley?
He collects a pension from the state.
I think
That's okay.
it's a tough precedent. We're going to give non-employees a pension. It just, we're down some kind of dangerous road. How many more do we have? And what are we talking? It's 2%. Are we talking 100,000 each? 100,000 a year? What is the pension dollars that we're going to be adding to the taxpayer per person? I don't know.
30. And I just have to,
30%, though.
comment about giving a pension. These are employees, whether you believe they're town employees or not, they're employees of the library. And so, I mean, 28 years of practice, Stanley, has been that particular way. So, not to interrupt, go ahead.
Yeah.
When we're talking about giving away pensions, we're not giving them away.
But
These employees
Susan,
are
I don't
working.
think, it was my understanding that it was an oversight. We didn't know this was happening. So when you find out that an error has occurred, you correct it. You don't say just because we've been doing like that in the past, we need to keep going, right?
That's correct.
I love the library and all the people in it. I really do. And it just seems that we have to be fiscally responsible here. It seems there is a disconnect between the library and town budget. Therefore, I think they're handling it over there, and then that's fine. For all of a sudden, for us to take all their expenses or employees and be in on it, I don't understand how that works. It's just putting in non-employees is a problem for somebody out here looking at it. Give somebody that's not an employee, and yeah, they've been in the library and all, but so now are all the librarian people going to be employees now? All of them will be employees forever, and retro.
So just, I'm not going to interrupt you.
Oh yeah, please do.
Okay. So all right. Well, I will interrupt.
Please do.
So it's very obvious. So Mark has an opinion. Mark Davis, our solicitor, has an opinion. There are certain people in town that have an opinion about the status of the library employees being town employees or not town employees. We have a challenge from the library board and representation that indicates, and I absolutely agree with their representation, that they are town employees. So these are not non-employees getting town pensions.
So they are.
According to my opinion, I've said that. So my opinion is they are town employees. They've always been town employees. We have one of the longest tenured Narragansett town employees that has served at the library for 3 or 4 decades. So
Oh, she's not on, she's not on
Not
the
talking
table.
about taking her
Yeah.
pension
I'm not
away.
talking about taking pensions away
we're
either.
not
My
taking
point is the
anybody's
precedent to me has been set that they are town employees. Now, going further into the future, the next set of employees that gets hired, then I absolutely am in favor of looking at more cost-effective ways to have them save for retirement. I just want it to be clear to the public, though, that people talking about them not being employees need to understand that that is not crystal clear, that is not black and white, and I happen to believe they are employees.
All right, listen.
Well said.
But then when I read in the paper, I thought.
I need
they
more
said it
information. When's Laura coming back?
Thank you, Stanley.
Thank you.
Thanks, Stanley. Madam.
So Laura will be back next week.
Next week.
So
Okay.
what I would recommend, rather than me throwing numbers out there without
Right.
having the hard facts, what I would recommend is, if you choose to, Council President, you continue this, we would get Nyhart to give us some liability numbers. We would get exact percentages and then present it to you, and you can make a decision at that point.
Thank you.
I'm
Yeah.
fine with that. I'm
Yeah, I
fine
think
with
we
that,
should
but
continue this.
I feel
So-
very much like Mike, so I'm fine.
I think we
So
should
moved.
continue this.
So we'll
Second.
continue it.
Yeah,
I need a
continue
motion.
it, and then see
I
what
need
the
a motion to
difference
continue.
between a 457B for these two employees compared to the current pension plan.
I
We'll see what the
need
club-
somebody to make that motion to continue.
I'll move that.
Second.
All those in favor of continuing?
Aye.
Aye.
5-0, motion passes to continue. Number 12, a motion to direct the town solicitor and the finance director to set up a mechanism to enroll new full-time employees of the library into a 457B type retirement plan in lieu of participating in the town of Narragansett defined pension plan as of July 1st, 2018. Do I have a
I'll move that.
motion?
I'll move it.
Do I have a
I'll
second?
second that.
Do I have any discussion?
I'd like to amend this motion and keep the date blank, because we may backdate it. But that July 1st is not concrete yet until we hear from Laura Kenyon on the current 2 employees.
So.
Or why don't we make a motion to?
Make a
conti-
motion to
yeah,
amend it.
No, because
why
it's
don't
my
we-
motion, we have to redo it, and you can
Why don't we
change it.
continue it?
All right, we'll continue it.
Make a motion to continue.
Make a motion to continue.
Second.
All, discussion, anybody?
There were a couple people up for the last that didn't get called on. I don't know if they want to go up.
So I'm very disappointed
Can you
after having
state your name?
Lori Kelly, Wildfield Farm Road, having had all that work previously, and the I don't know what it's called, but when you click on that motion, it says all employees, all current full-time employees of the library who got benefits in 1990 because of an ordinance that was passed by this town are, in fact, entitled to the pensions and health benefits that they've paid into for 28 years. So I think you're a little bit off, and it's really terrifying to the employees of the library that you're discussing 2 employees and not all the people who in good faith worked at the library since 1990 and contributed. That's one. This, the 457B, which we are perfectly happy to go down that road and examine things, I think it's only fair that the town staff that has been unable to come up with something to offer to us up until this point has a timeline to come up with some other alternative. Not the next time we have to hire an employee and we go, I don't know what you can offer them, but you're clearly not in the pension plan. And second to that, you have to discuss health benefits and the other benefits of being a town employee. Thank you.
Thank you, Lori. Anybody else wishing to speak on the motion? Paul?
I think what's really
You
terrifying.
have to say your
Paul
name.
Sanfrillo, 7 Windward Circle.
Thank you, Paul.
I think what's really terrifying is that we're under threat of litigation by the library, that they've hired an attorney, which the town is paying for. The town is paying for the attorney to sue the town, potentially, right? And so the arrogance and the entitlement, like, we have to address this? The employees are terrified. A little hyperbole there, really. And, you know, Mike, I know you said at the workshop, it's like the union suing the town. I'd like to correct you on that. When the union sues the town, they pay for it. So I think it's time to take a step back. They are not town employees. None of the people at the towers are town employees collecting pensions. And what kind of precedent are you going to set? So let's take a step back. This shouldn't even be voted at all.
Thank you, Paul. Anybody else wishing to speak? Richard, did you already speak? On the second motion, come on up.
I will always
You have
speak.
to state your name and.
Oh, Richard Van Gumish, I didn't change it. I will always speak in favor of a plan like this because this plan does not destroy the town. What destroys the town are COLAs. I can repeat this once, twice. We are being destroyed, and we don't have enough guts to get up there and do something about it.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to speak? Catherine?
Catherine Celebrato, 48 Earls Court. We're not going to decide tonight about whether they go in the pension system or not, or the 457B, right? But I want to say something about what Richard says about the COLAs. I've been involved in 2 pension litigations, and you can't take COLAs retroactively unless you can prove a public purpose. There is no way we in Narragansett are ever going to prove a public purpose, not with the average income in this town. Going forward, you can negotiate with the unions to adjust COLAs. But we'll spend $1 million if we try to retroactively adjust COLAs for our retirees. Believe me, I've been involved in this type of litigation. We have no public purpose. This is what Richard forgets. You have to prove public purpose in order to do something like that. We can't do it. We'll never be able to do it.
Thank you. Right, the motion is to continue. Meg? We'll see both of these next meeting.
Good evening. I'm Margaret Rogers, 68 Earls Court. It's difficult to talk about this, but I feel that it has to be addressed. I personally feel offended when people who have been in the employ of, whether it's the library or the town of Narragansett or whomever, apparently one of these employees, they have a name, they have a family, this is their livelihood, this is their life we're talking about, their retirement benefits, and I just find it offensive to talk about them in a vacuum. They've dedicated 40 years to the people who use our library. I certainly haven't lived in town that long, but if I worked for that library for 5 years, I think they should be called by name. I think we should know who they are. We should be able to know who they are and what they've contributed to our town. I just feel incredibly offended by that. And I think that sometimes this may come at the council when certain councilors have not built relationships with people that work in our library. Our library employees are public relations ambassadors for the town, and they serve us in ways that are very out in the public venue. So I think they deserve to be called by name. That's all.
Thank you, Meg.
All right, listen, for the record here, nobody's talking about taking anybody's pension away that's been working here for 40 years, okay? We're talking about 2 employees, one that started in November 2017. They haven't even been here a year, okay? So, we're looking at that, and either we're going to include these 2 employees and then start at retroactive July 1st, or we're going to backdate it to July 1st of last year. That's what I got it down to. I mean, that's what's in my mind. And I think we need Laura Kenyon to see what the difference is, what the effect is on future pension obligation. That's all this is.
So, yeah,
okay?
so the motion that's in front of us says to direct the town solicitor to work with the finance director to come up with the mechanism. So we can continue that, or we can vote on that, because that was what we did talk about at the workshop, to
Right.
investigate
Well, we need to
alternative
take that
plans.
data.
So if you're comfortable, I don't see any reason why we have to table 12, because that's what we had asked, and I think Councilwoman Lawler, you just said that tonight about talking to the solicitor. And my motion is to direct the solicitor to work with the finance director to investigate plans that are viable for future employees. So
I
if,
like how you just said it, because you're in here, you're directing them to set up a mechanism, but what you just said, Susan, I think is perfect.
Yeah, well, that's
Just
what-
find out if it's viable.
yeah, so if
Can
no
I
one
say
has-
something on
Of
this?
course.
So, but if there was no consensus really at the work session, but what seemed to be what people were thinking was going forward, that there would not be pensions offered, not a mechanism that we as a council, however we did that by ordinance, by a rule and reg, by just accepting what the solicitor's recommendation was for the future, there would not be pensions for future town employees. And then we would deal with the 2 who are in the exceptional circumstance, right? They have this offer's been made of employment, and then how do we deal with them? So I think the comfort level of dealing with the two and compromising there would be alleviated if we were clear about the future, because if there's going to be a lot more library employees, then I think the townspeople aren't in the mindset of giving pensions to that for future employees. But I think if we do that, but not a mechanism or an investigation, I think we just say it's a mandate. It's not pensions going forward.
Again,
so that's why I would continue it, because I think it needs to be worked.
So I'm comfortable, I wrote this motion based on leaving that workshop, and I heard from my colleagues, my interpretation was that people wanted to look at other options. This motion is saying to direct the solicitor to work with the finance director to come up with some options to present to the town, to the library employees. So that was my motion, that was my intention, nothing more, nothing less. I heard that in the discussion that moving forward for the new hirees, that's what we wanted. So I'm ready to vote on this motion. I heard that from almost everybody at the meeting.
I don't mind moving forward with a 457B, but you got to amend that data, because you can't, either we're going to include these two employees in the 457B, or we're going to include them in the town pension. I'll vote for this, but we got to amend it to take that date out, because we don't know what the start date is. We need more information from Laura Kenyon.
But I understand what you're saying, and I get what you're saying. But I think Susan's intention, and I think the wording is, the mechanism word kind of threw me a little bit as well. The bottom line is your intention, if I'm not mistaken, is every new library employee that is hired after July 1st is enrolled in the 457B and not in the town pension.
So amend to take the word mechanism out. Yes, yes, that was my intention. We can wordsmith it if you'd like.
But I think it needs to say that. It doesn't.
So does it
that.
need to be continued to
I would
say that?
continue it and fix it. Yeah.
Yeah, let's just continue it. I mean, then we'll settle it when she gets back. She's
I
back
need a
in 2
motion
weeks.
to continue.
I'll move the motion.
I need a second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
You'll see those two motions back on August 6th. We'll wordsmith them and bring them back.
Great.
Number 13, a motion to appoint Steve Degnault as acting Public Works Director. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion. This was put on by the manager.
Thank you, Madam President. This is Mr. Mike DeCicco, who is the Director of Public Works, made a request to take some extended leave for a period of 6 weeks. He was allowed to take that extended leave. I think it's in the best interest of the town to appoint an acting Public Works Director in his absence. Mr. DeCicco is expected to return first week of September.
Thank you. Any questions from the council?
None.
Any questions from the public? All those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
5-0, motion passes. Number 14, a motion to approve, ratify, and confirm the emergency repairs to Fire Engine 2 performed by Pascal Service Corporation in the amount of $23,494.23. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Discussion. Anybody from the public? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
5-0, motion passes. 15, a motion to approve change order number 3 with Blakesley Chapman, Inc. for Scarborough wastewater flooding proof project in the deduct amount of $59,615. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
5-0, motion passes. 16, a motion to approve the purchase of aeration equipment for the Scarborough wastewater treatment facilities from Aeration Industries International LLC in the amount of $255,230.
So
A
moved.
motion?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Discussion.
Yeah, I'd like to know about this one. I didn't get a chance to look at this one.
Jeff?
Yeah. There's two employees in the pension there.
What would you need to know? Okay, it's, if you remember, we have a multi-year capital improvement plan within the wastewater plant down in Scarborough to upgrade the aeration system. In general terms, what we're doing is we're replacing early 1980, late 1970 technology with more modern day equipment and processing. We did the first phase of it last year as a pilot program. We bought 2 new aeration units, for lack of a better term, that are installed in 2 of the channels in our aeration tanks. At the time, we paid $37,850 per unit, and then we installed them ourselves with help from our various miscellaneous contract vendors as well as the wastewater staff. We did that. We wanted to run them last year through the end of the summer, through the winter, through the spring as basically a pilot program. The units are working better than we anticipated. As I mentioned to the town manager today, this is our 3rd straight month with 100% removals at the plant, which nobody in the state has ever done. But we can be even better. We can make sure that we lock in at a high performance moving forward. So we're looking to replace the rest of the aeration units. There are 8 more to be replaced.
Right.
The best part of this particular one is that we're able to purchase these directly from the manufacturer this time. Through our working relationship with Aqua Solutions, a company that we've been dealing with for as long as I've been here, for 30 years, they agreed to waive their distributorship fee for the 8 units, which was huge. So it brings the price down to about $31,000 per unit as opposed to 38, almost 39. We'll coordinate the installation ourselves this fall. We'll still need some help from Audette, from our electrical contractor, and probably from the fab shop, our local welding and fabrication shop. But the wastewater troops are going to step up and do the installation as well.
That plant is operating.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
I'm sorry. That plant is operating, and we're actually over capacity there, right? I mean, we're operating, how can I put it? Like 110% of what we're processing. Whatever we're processing, we can handle it.
Yeah, it's not a capacity issue. We're only operating at about 55% of our hydraulic capacity.
Correct.
But our removal rates, which is how the state measures our performance, we're at 100%.
Right.
Which is kind of unheard of.
Now, these are separate pools?
I'm trying not to jinx us here, but we're doing a good job with it.
Are these separate pools? Like you change the aeration in the one pool, and then you're going to change it in the next pool? Or are they 3 separate? There's 3 separate pools up there, right?
It makes sense to, Patrick, because right now with the 2 units that we put in last year and the old ones, we've got a hybrid system that don't really balance out well together. It requires a lot more work on the part of Pete and his staff every day to tune it, because we've got oxygen delivery and oxygen mixing at a much higher efficiency with the new equipment than we did with the old. There's going to be energy savings down the road with these too. These units will all operate on what's called variable frequency drives, which means they'll be tied to the oxygen demand. So in other words, instead of just being on or off, they'll be variably on or off. So long-term projections that will save some money on the electric side of things.
So it'll be more variable than constant.
Correct.
All right. This wasn't part of that grant money, huh?
No, unfortunately, there's no grant money for this.
No grant money kicking around for this one?
No.
Man, that plant.
But this is something that we had programmed in over a 3-year period within the Wastewater Enterprise Fund.
And we're at 50% capacity down there?
Yeah.
And how many home permits can we put in? There's like, what, 800? We could build 800 homes down there. We could handle it down there, correct?
I'm not sure about 800, but we could handle hundreds of
homes, right?
Of homes in the South End.
It's very efficient. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Any other questions on the wastewater? No? All those in favor?
Aye.
5-0, motion passes. 17, a motion to approve an annual contract for technical support for the police department computer software system with Tri-Tech Software Systems in the amount of $17,181.75. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion from the council? Any discussion from the public? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
5-0, motion passes. 18, a motion to approve annual software maintenance agreement with Vision Government Solutions in the amount of $18,271. Do I have a motion?
So move.
A second?
Second.
Any discussion from the council? Any discussion from the public?
Susan, on 18 and 19, we've seen these types of things year after year. These are, I just am going to comment, it's just a comment that they're the only companies that can do this. So it's just something at some point you want to keep an eye on because it's like a semi-monopoly and it can get a little scary. So it's 18 and 19.
Sure.
So, Madam President, these fees that you're seeing for these software, so forth, I've spoken to the IT manager about it, and one thing that we really watch is not duplicating fees, making sure that the police and fire can get by with one instead of two, which they couldn't because it's two different types of software. But I agree with you, Councilman Mannix, that these fees, they're high. And we really watch, Dan Holland is on it, and he's looking for ways to consolidate these fees, because these license fees are just going to grow every year. So that's something we definitely will pay attention to.
Thank you
know
for
what
the
I'd
comment.
like
Thank
to
you.
say? Hang on, man. Since we're spending all these fees, the vision appraisals and all this efficiency, you can't get the tax rate. You go on the town website, and you can't get the tax rate, the current tax rate. The rate. Yeah, the rate. This year's rate, the new rate, you cannot, it should be on the front page. It should be click here for Narragansett 2018, like a dialogue box for a quick access. All right, I'd like to see that. Mr. Holland, if that's something we could punch up. I've asked for it before, but I know some towns have it, so you know where you're at, and you can match it with your bill. But I think it would kind of keep a tempo on things here. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. Any other comments on motion 18? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
5-0, motion passes. 19, a motion to approve the renewal of the Munis application service contract with Taylor Technologies, Inc. in the amount of $60,419 for the fiscal year 2019. Do I have a motion?
So move.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion from the council? Any discussion from the public? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
5-0, motion passes. Motion 20, a motion to approve the amended contractual agreement between the Town of Narragansett and Anthony D. Wojcik to perform electrical inspections for the building official's office for July 1st, 2018 to June 30th, 2019. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion?
Madam President, I will speak on 20 and 21 will come up.
Thank you.
It'll mirror that as well. But so these two employees work for the building inspector. They're part-time employees. They're given no benefits or pension. They receive a salary of $15,000 for whatever time they work. They're both valued employees, and they would be very tough to replace if we had to, especially at that amount of money. One thing we noticed, and the building inspector brought to my attention, was that there are required certifications that both of these inspectors need to get, and they were not getting compensated. We'd send them on a day off,
Right.
and they weren't getting anything, mileage, nothing. So we agreed, in all fairness to them, that we would provide them with up to 4 hours of compensation, max amount of $100 for the training. It will not happen, should not happen more than twice a year, so it would be approximately $200 per employee per year. I'm respectfully requesting you approve that.
Any other comments? Thank you, Jim. Anybody from the public? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 5-0, motion passes. And 21, a motion to approve the amended contractual agreement between the Town of Narragansett and James Harris to perform plumbing and mechanical inspections for the building official's office from July 1st, 2018 to June 30th, 2019. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Any discussion from the council? Any discussion from the public? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
5-0, motion passes. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Good night.
Smoke 'em if you got 'em. Have a good summer. Christmas in July?